Pat, it is Christmas time. That means we're back here
Yes.
talking about a Christmas themed show. And for a change, we're not talking about a film. We're talking about a CBS TV special from 1963 called The Judy Garland Christmas Show. And
Yes.
the reason we're talking about it specifically is that you are going to be participating in a live uh, tribute slash reenactment slash, I don't want to call it a parody, I don't want to presume, but it's going to be
Well, it's
a
slash
fun take on
musical
it.
comedy.
Yeah.
Slash musical comedy.
So when is that?
Version.
Yeah, when is that happening? And tell us about that just so we can kind of set the table here.
That is happening in mere days, December 15th, 16th, and 17th, 3 nights only at the Den Theater in Chicago on Milwaukee Avenue. You can obtain tickets by going to thedentheater.com and just go under their plays, and we'll be there. A Judy Christmas. Now, there's been several iterations on stage of the Judy Garland Christmas special, but we're the only one that came up with the Judy Christmas. The author of our play last night told me that. I was like, wow, seems like a natural.
That's
So the Judy Christmas will be taking place at the Den Theater on the 15th, 16th, and 17th.
awesome. And we'll have all the information below in the
Right.
description, as well as some audio from an interview that you did with one of the stars of the original Judy Garland Christmas special, which we'll talk a little bit about soon. Now, I
Yep.
just want to set the stage here, no pun intended. Pat, you and I talked about this show last Friday, and thanks
Yes.
to some lovely computer driver errors or something,
Wow.
my laptop just ate the file. Actually, my backup drive ate the file of that recording. So we're talking about it again. We're gonna keep it fresh and exciting and new. But
Yes.
yeah, I'm very excited, and thank you. This is my Christmas present from you this year, is you coming back and agreeing to talk to me about this.
Having just wanting to promote the show a bit, and also to talk about one of my favorite Christmas traditions. And this did start as a tradition for me in the 1990s. I would often have a party for the Music Box presentation of White Christmas, bring people over afterward, and the signal to the end of the party was the playing of the Judy Garland Christmas special. Get out after that.
Well, I was gonna
But
say, did when you put it on, was that the signal to leave, or was it the signal to leave after it was over? Because how many people
I th
stayed for the whole thing?
well, that's the thing. I think that you would thin out the crowd as the hour went on, and finally the diehards would stick to the end. But I must say that most people gave it more of a positive, bringing it into their Christmas celebrations. I know a lot of people who have done this over the years, and it's just become part of a lot of people's Christmas, basically.
And I gotta say, I'd never heard of this before you recommended it to me. And I watched it on YouTube. There's a 55-minute version which has all the classic commercials from
Right.
1963, from some great sponsors we'll talk about in a bit. But
Right.
so what? There's some context here for when this special was filmed, that if you
Yes.
could go into, because it's a
Yeah,
very weird television show. It doesn't
very
surprise me
much
that there
so.
have been other kind of tribute stage adaptations of it, because it almost seems ripe for ribbing, as they say. But the show itself, there's something kind of an undercurrent of
Yes.
sadness and mania and a
Yeah.
weird tension going on, even though it's supposed to be this
Right.
family Christmas special. So tell us about the Judy Garland Christmas special.
Okay. To set excuse me, to set the scene, Judy Garland was given a variety show on CBS, which began in September of '63 and lasted only till '64, due to her erratic behavior of showing up, and they were burning cash and all that. But obviously, the Christmas special is coming up during that 1963 season, and on November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was killed by an assassination in Dallas, and the funeral was 3 days later, November 25th. They filmed this episode on December 6th. Now, I counted the days. It was 11 days from the funeral of Judy Garland's very good friend, Jack Kennedy. They were old time friends from way back, you know, because Kennedy was a Hollywood man. His father, Joseph P., was a producer in the early days of Hollywood, and so Jack knew all the starlets, including Garland, from the 1940s on, even before he became president. So it was quite a blow to, of course, the nation, but to have to film a Christmas special when one of your friends is killed is probably one of the most daunting challenges you'll ever have. So that's the context of the Judy Garland Christmas show, which filmed on December 6th and then was aired, I believe, on December 22nd or 21st. I had to look that up, but it was aired a couple weeks later.
So one thing I don't know, do you know, did she attend JFK's funeral? Do you know, was she there? Because I know there's some iconic imagery from that, like, you know, JFK Jr. doing the little salute and everything. But do you know if
That's an
Judy was there?
interesting question. That's an interesting question. I would assume if she was a friend of his that she would have attended, but you know, given the chaos that went on during that weekend, I'm sure a lot of people couldn't catch up to that. When you think about it, he was killed on Friday the 22nd and was buried on the 25th, almost like a Jewish funeral in a sense, because that's what they do 3 days after the death. They bury their remains. So to me, when you put it into that context, you know, 22nd he's assassinated, the 24th his assassin is assassinated, and the 25th they have the funeral. So I don't know in all that chaos if she was able to get there. That's an interesting question. Now, I wanted to reiterate from our first go around what your context of Judy Garland was, just as a star. What have you seen of hers? What do you know of her? That was interesting to me when we talked the first time.
Well, and you know, it's an embarrassment. As I'm finding out from film Twitter, in the last 24 hours, I've been tweeting about Gene Dealman, the #1 BFI choice, and there's a number of people setting me in my place allegedly. So it's going to come as no surprise. I knew very little about Judy Garland. I knew that she was the star of The Wizard of Oz, as everyone knows, that she was Liza Minnelli's mother, and that I had some vague inkling that there was some substance abuse or some alcoholism,
Right.
or something that may have caused some erratic behavior. But you know, that's all I really knew. And then you had pointed out that she was was it Judy or was it Liza who was in A Star Is Born? I can't remember which one of those
She was in A
iterations.
Star Is Born in the 1950s. That was Judy.
Okay, yeah, because there have been a few versions of that, and as I also confessed
Yes.
on that other show, the only one I'd seen was the Bradley Cooper Lady Gaga one, which I really loved. And you said, in your opinion, if I remember correctly, that is the weakest one out
By
of the
far the
bunch.
worst one.
Okay, so
By far the worst one.
so I'm in for a treat when I do my Star Is Born
Yeah.
remake marathon.
You know, I would recommend, if you, since you haven't seen The Journey, you start with What Price Hollywood, which came out in 1932 or 3, which was the first iteration of the story. Then, of course, A Star Is Born, I believe, in 1937, 38. And then we had the 50s, Judy, and then the 70s, Barbara Streisand. But as I said in the first one, the interesting thing to me is that they are able to get the greatest star of each of the musical versions of the last 3 of their generation, or greatest star, you know, in quotes. But you know, obviously Gaga is one of the hottest singers around, so she did that one. Streisand in the 70s, hottest singer around, she did that one. Judy Garland in the 50s, but that was more of a comeback for her. But obviously one of the greatest singers in show business history.
So
Interesting, huh?
can I? Well, it is. So can I extrapolate from that the next version is going to be 20 years from now, and it's going to feature, like, it's going to be 10 minutes long and feature a TikToker romance or something like that.
Yeah, and it will have a robot of some sort helping him out.
Can a robot hang
Maybe a
itself?
Bradley Cooper.
No, no. Sorry.
Maybe a Bradley Cooper robot. Who knows? He'll do anything at this point.
He will. But I love Bradley Cooper. I'm not ashamed to say it. But
I,
so the Christmas,
I don't. What's not the line?
well, the Christmas special itself, I mean, the whole
Yes.
conceit is that we are invited into Judy Garland's home, which is this
Yeah.
big, fabulous, open soundstage set. There's a live audience, which we never see.
Never see.
And we see her two little children, Joe and Lorna. Liza is out ice skating with her beau, a guy named Tracy Everett. And she drops by later. And the thing is, like, it's Christmas Eve, and all these people are dropping by, including Jack Jones, Mel Torme, Mel Torme leading a group of Christmas carolers, like a gang of Christmas
Yes.
carolers, and they're all invited into the house for merriment.
Yes, and also don't forget the dancing Santas.
The dancing Santas, the first time they show up, they are kind of fun, and it's all like a bunch of guys in Santa Claus costumes, but they're doing the high kicking chorus girl thing. It's very odd.
Yep.
And then at the very end, after the carolers leave, and it's pretty much Judy all by herself, the dancing Santas reemerge almost like a home invasion. And there was, if you
Right.
look at the look on Judy Garland's face, she's supposed to be elated that she's dancing with Santas, but she looks distressed, as if no one told her that like this is an improv number and the joke's on her.
Well, also too, in the play version that I'm in, we make it sort of hallucinatory. You know, the Santas are part of this pill jag that Judy is on. We really don't emphasize her drug use, because everybody has layers of that, and I'm not going to speculate on it. Nor is Desi, who wrote our script. What she's doing is she got a bunch of bad pills, and that's why we all look the way we do. We are the actual people, but we look different through Judy's eyes. She even looks different to herself. So the dancing Santas obviously are part of the hallucination.
Now, let me ask you about this. Are the pills that she takes, are they contact pills, the tiny time
The
pills
tiny
as we
time
see in the
capsule.
commercial?
As I said, who knows what was in those things? They could have put arsenic and cocaine in it. There was no regulatory function back in the early 60s with over the counter drug. Well, contact just disappeared from the marketplace. Who knows what happened to it? Can we go to the drugstore and get a contact still? Or is it just a brand name? Who knows?
I only knew contact from, I think it was the big on the Price is Right back in the day. It might still be in existence, but they certainly don't advertise the tiny time pills thing, because it's like one of those animated commercials and there's a capsule, but inside that capsule, these sparkling little dots, it might be cocaine. I
Right,
don't know, but it's like time released pain relief.
right.
Along with, what
Which
was it? There
again,
was
we
a,
make reference to in the
well,
show.
you gotta give it up for those commercials. Like there's also Thrill dish soap, which how would you like to buy a new pair of hands? Yes. All this trippy like James Bond intro
Hilarious.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
very, very weird.
but so Judy she's got her family, the kids are singing. Liza, when she comes in with Tracy, her friend, her beau, uh, there's a weird moment where she sees her family staring out into space, like laughing and talking to people, and she's like, "What's going on?" And then Judy says to Liza, "Well, we're on television. This is a Christmas special." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then it's never acknowledged again. It's like a brief fourth wall break, but it's eerie that
Yeah,
we never
that
we
is
never see the
odd.
audience.
And I never noticed that until you pointed it out. But when I was watching the show, of course, I know the point in which she does that. I, that again, over the years, I guess I've just gotten into the camp version of the whole thing. That this thing it's from another era. It was done in all innocence, and yet we see very much the overhang of that Kennedy assassination on the whole cast, not just Judy. And you can see they're trying to force something. Not there's not an organic feel to their machinations. They're singing, they're dancing. it seems like there is something wrong, as you said. So um,
Well,
it for that reason, it works on a lot of levels
well,
to
you
our
know,
modern sensibility.
you used the phrase forced something, which brings me
Yeah.
awkwardly to my transition of the song Lollipops and Roses. Now, Jack Jones,
Tell
who
them
looks,
you can.
I'm gonna
I'm playing
I'm gonna
Jack
read the,
Jones.
I
Go
know,
ahead.
and I'm afraid for your safety, Pat, because this is a guy who, and you've clued me in on this. His big claim to fame, I guess he was a singer back in the day. I had never heard of him.
Yep.
The only thing I knew
Right.
about him is that he looked like Rick Santorum, but apparently he sang the theme from The Love Boat a couple of decades later.
That is his. I think of everything because his career was pretty much forgotten after the British invasion in '64. That was his primary comeback. I mean, he always worked. He was a lounge lizard, but the Love Boat theme is. I think that's his most famous song. If you say "Lollipops and Roses" to somebody, it was a hit back then, but nobody's gonna know it.
Something that just popped into my head. I think it was Airplane 2 was the scene where Robert Hayes breaks out of the insane asylum or something, and there's a guy singing the Love Boat theme. There's like a spotlight. Was that Jack Jones? Do you know?
Most possibly could have been. Seeing
I've
that
not.
Airplane 2 was sort of a carbon copy of the first one that didn't work. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
I
there's a couple of good gags in Airplane 2, but I got to go back and look and see if that's actually Jack Jones because that I just put that together. Wow. But no, it Jack Jones, he drops by. He's kind of, he's got presence and he comes in singing and everyone loves him. But he sits down in the living room and there's a scene where young Lorna, who I don't know is all of 8 years old, or no, you said she was
11.
11. 11. Wow.
Yeah.
He kind of brings her next to him and starts singing
Yeah.
Lollipops and Roses. Now, I'm just going to read some of the lyrics out, and the audience can
Tell
decide.
them you care each
Okay,
time you speak.
no, no, just hold on, because when you sing it, it sounds innocent and fun. When you just read it, kind of court transcript style, it takes on a whole nother life. Um, Coax her, pet her, better yet, get her lollipops and roses. We're all little children fresh from school. Uh, Carry their books. That's how it starts. 14 or 40, they're kids in their hearts. And then the next bit is he says, "Why don't you come sit on my knee, sing to me?" And then Santa Claus is
Yes.
coming to town starts. I, the problem with watching stuff that's innocent and pure from the 1960s in 2022 is that we're all warped by, the media circus that we're immersed in. So I can't help but look at this
Yeah.
askance. What's wrong with me, Pat?
Askance. Well, we do comment on that in the play. I hate to keep going back to the play, but these are the things that our playwright noticed too. So I, it's again, we can't go unless we can get a time machine. Even if we could go back to 1963, we wouldn't understand it. You're only you're a victim of your own circumstances and your own time period, and you can't imagine somebody in 1963 watching it and thinking, "Oh, what a pedophile." No,
And
no, they wouldn't think that. It would just
I'm
be
not suggesting there was anything
no,
there, but it's just you can
no,
watch
there
it that
wasn't at
way.
all anything. That's the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
It was just like Uncle Jack coming over and just having some fun. But when you micro watch it in the context, as you said, of all our media uh, information now, and given our experiences and seeing that media information, we can't discern it the way other people did back then. And that's what my point is. I always make whenever anybody's nostalgic, I always say it's impossible to know what the feeling was of a person back then unless you lived there. And it's impossible to know what it's like to be an adult, even when in the 70s when I grew up, because I wasn't an adult. So I know the context in which I lived there, but I had no idea of the politics and the, everything swirling around. And certainly we didn't have the media silo that we have now. So I,
And well, it's
so I would say that it was an innocent thing back then, but you watch it today, it's impossible to think innocence because it's so weird,
yeah.
as you said.
Well, and also, with Lorna towards the end of the show, after everyone's left, Judy has the kids, they come down in their pajamas and she's kind of singing them a lullaby, which of course is Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Right.
But when she's got them, one on each arm, if you watch Lorna's face, she's got this 1,000-yard stare where she's looking off almost into the audience or whatever, and she looks really kind of weirded out and kind of depressed. But then when Judy turns from Joe and focuses her attention on Lorna, the face goes from to, and they start singing,
Yeah.
and then Judy turns away, and then it's back to I don't know.
Well,
It's
did you listen to the question I asked her, which I didn't really get a satisfactory answer from her,
no,
but
I haven't listened to it. I'm going
oh,
to because
okay.
the swirling of all the weird tech shit that's been going on the
Yeah,
last
I'm
few days,
sure.
but
Yeah.
I do have that audio, and you can listen to it
It
down
is
below,
the first
folks.
question, so you can just cut it off at the end of it. But um, I was, I guess I should have specifically asked her back, Jack Jones. Lorna was making her national debut on a national TV show that was probably watched by 30, 40 million people. I don't know their ratings, but back in those days with only 3 channels, if the Judy Garland Christmas special was going to be on, I think people would have been watching it.
Sure.
And so, what did they get? 20, 30 million people. And so imagine making your debut as a singer and a performer on a show that's going to be viewed by 30 million people. That would be daunting. So I think that 1,000-yard stare was basically, I don't know what to do when the focus is on me. But Mama always said, anytime I look at you, please look the happiest you can actually be. Or maybe there was sibling rivalry. I don't know. But that's funny. I mean, there's so many things to observe in this special that you could probably analyze it for years and still not get to the core root of it. But the core root of it, of course, is a nation in mourning. So,
Yeah, and something that you had mentioned is that Judy Garland died in '69, right?
mhm.
At age 42. And something that I brought up
47. She
47.
was
Okay,
42.
47. Okay, she was
42 when she made the show.
okay. So she's 42 years old, and we had discussed, she had kind of uh, she grew up in a very difficult time, and life did a lot to people back then. I think I had made allusion
Yeah,
to a World War I photo of like a young British soldier who is 15, and then a few years later, when he's 21, he looks like he's 58. So
right.
and this isn't kind of a comment or a criticism of Judy Garland's looks, but during the show, and it might have been the bright lights, the TV lighting and everything, she looks much older and very tired and like she's trying really hard to put on the best show she can. It almost feels inappropriate. Like, couldn't CBS have just said, look, I know, given everything that's going on, maybe we'll try this next year. This just isn't right.
I would have pulled the plug on that immediately after the funeral if I have it scheduled. But it was again, the show must go on. I guess was the attitude, and it just it'd be interesting to know what the context was at the time because we weren't. Nobody in America knew that something was pre-taped 2 weeks before they actually saw it. So a month had gone by. There was a month cushion before the show actually aired from the assassination. So perhaps it was just business as usual. Oh, good, the Judy Garland show is on. I'll take my mind off of all this tragedy that's around. I'm sure that Christmas season was a very difficult one for the American public. So
Oh yeah, I mean,
I'm a big assassinations buff. A really strange one. And I am going to Dallas in March as a bucket list trip to just explore. I don't care anything else about Dallas. I just want to explore the assassination site.
it
Keep those
reminds
cards and letters coming, folks. Yes.
well, no, it reminds me of that great Bill Hicks joke where he said he went to the Dallas Assassination Museum and he said the book depository is now a museum, and it's really accurate because Oswald wasn't in it. um,
I
but
believe he also said for every new president, to keep him in line, the first day he's in office, they show him an angle of the Kennedy assassination that nobody's ever seen.
they say, yeah, it is. They
Great
say,
Bill Hicks.
any questions? And the new president says, only what my agenda is. Yeah, that. Oh,
The great Bill Hicks.
talk about another talent gone too soon.
What were your impressions? Did you watch it from beginning to end?
Yeah,
like without a stop. Okay, so
I think I paused,
after
paused to go to the bathroom or get coffee or something. But yeah.
Yeah. So after it ended and the credits were rolling, what was your immediate like feeling about it? What did you think immediately?
It's weird because I didn't. Everything I think is funny about this show is funny in like a dark way. Like
Yes.
there was a bit before the carolers leave, everybody's sitting around the living room. And it's mostly all adults, and there's like a couple of the little kids. But I just kept thinking about the key party scene from The Ice Storm by Ang Lee. And I'm like waiting for all the kids to go in the other room while the adults like pass around the bowl. But
yeah,
that's the weird thing is it wasn't, I was expecting something cheesy, like 1950s, 60s cheese,
right,
and
right,
it wasn't that. It was sincere because there's not, you can say, oh, that old time Christmas music and carolers and something that's so cheesy. I love the holidays. I'm a sincere,
right.
reveler. I just watched Home Alone with my kids this morning and I was, a wreck. I've seen that movie a dozen times. It still makes me cry. So I wear my heart on my sleeve in that respect. But I wasn't laughing at the Judy Garland Christmas special. It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't corny. It was just oddly sad. And this is before I knew, or I hadn't put
Right.
together the Kennedy assassination angle. I just knew that there was some kind of a cloud hanging over this production. I couldn't quite figure it out.
Well, to pick that up is quite extraordinary, when you think about it. Because yeah, obviously there was a pall of sadness over it because of the and that wasn't the Pall Mall cigarette ad, by the way. That was a pall of sadness.
Wait, real quick. I had never
Yes.
known this before. They had the commercial. They pronounced it pell mell. Is it pell mell? I always thought it was Pall
Pell-mell.
Mall. Yeah, because it's spelled Pall Mall, but they kept saying pell mell cigarettes. What the hell? What
But
or what the hall?
isn't pell-mell a term that says, everything's pell-mell, it's just everything's chaotic?
So
As a term, isn't
it is,
pell-mell?
yeah. But I always
Yeah.
thought that was spelled Pellmell, but maybe it's
Yeah,
spelled
MELL,
Pall
right.
Mall. I don't know.
I always thought it was Pall-Mall. I didn't notice that. The one thing I noticed about that cigarette ad is the guy in it is super old. Like he's a gray-haired, like not super old, but he's like a gray-haired 40, late 40 something dude. I'm like, you should not be smoking anymore, my friend.
But this is back when frickin' doctors were prescribing cigarettes, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they didn't know, or maybe
Well,
they
yeah,
did.
and as I think I said this in the last one, when I was born, 65% of the adult population smoked, and now it's down to like 18%. So that's extraordinary. You're talking about 40 percentile of human beings not doing a habit they once did 60 some years ago.
Yeah. Well, I guess now it's like it's vaping and pot. Um,
Sure. Which
one
I
vice
have no
for the other.
problem with,
No, yeah.
except on the L. That's one of the big things that's happened to the L post the pandemic. there are a lot of people on there who don't give a damn about smoking on the L. It's just it's extraordinary to me. And of course, you can't confront them because it's somebody who's psychotic enough and sociopathic enough to just blatantly smoke in a confined area with a lot of people are not to be messed with. They're just not.
That is one of the things I don't miss about public transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to tell you a quick story. The other day, I always stare at these people because I'm like, how could you be doing that? I give them that one. And I did this to this guy, and he came up to me. He goes, "Hey, look." And he opened his arm up, and there was a bunch of needle marks. And his companion goes, "Don't show him that." I'm like, the
And when you say needle marks, you mean from like handling Christmas trees, right?
exactly. It was
I
so
I'm glad you're still alive. I'm glad you're still alive,
yeah,
Pat.
well,
Jeez.
it's I think the luck of the draw is that I'm fairly big, so people don't mess with me. And but I always think about women who have to travel on that. And people have to use public transportation, you know. There's just that's the only way a city like this functions. And to see it being degraded the way it has been, it's sad to me. I'm a big proponent of public transportation because I don't like to drive.
No, I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Although it is kind of fraught with that tension of, is this going to be the peaceful train ride or the one where everybody kind of piles to one side of the car because there's somebody like bashing their head against the window. But
right, the tension is there. The tension is real. What kind of car do you have? Do you have a car?
I have two.
Oh, you have
well, I
two
mean,
cars.
they're both old and they're,
Okay. John D. Rockefeller.
Hey, one car
There's
I
an
got.
old-timey reference too.
Well, actually, I talked to a Rockefeller a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah, he was directing a movie. I can't remember what it was. Anyway,
Cool.
but very nice guy. But no, don't. It's not a luxury thing. I have a 2008 Prius and a 2004 Chevy Cavalier that I bought off my in-laws for $1.
I love those deals. I used to do them all the time when I had cars. I would always say, I'll give you X amount of dollars, but the sale will be recorded as $1. And you just go to the DMV and pay like 50 cents to get your whatever transfer you had to get.
That's the beauty of family and friends. Yes,
it is. It is.
Hey, speaking of family and friends, what have we missed anything with the Judy Garland Christmas special? Because I feel like we've covered a lot.
Yeah, I think we got to the main points that we had on Friday as well. It's a little more rollicking because I just, I've got a lot of things going on right now. It's just woo.
Yeah, it's
trying to stay on track, baby. Once I get this ranking done for the CFCA, I will breathe a little easier. But it's a 2-hour project, as you well know.
I mean, not to tell stories out of school, but yeah, every year, folks who don't know what we're talking about, the Chicago Film Critics Association has our voting, our awards for best of the year, and it's a 19-page ballot for all the different categories, and we have to vote. So a lot of folks are cramming in their picks. I took a break to watch the Judy Garland Christmas special, and then I spent 3 hours and 20 minutes watching Gene Dealman from 1975. So yeah, I did the best I could. Wow.
What were your last 2022 films that you said, okay, I'm going to watch these and then I'm going to quit and do the ballot? I'm curious.
I'm trying to think. The only one that stands out is The Whale, because I'd heard a lot of great things about Brendan Fraser. And and yeah, we will do an official wrap up on the Judy Garland thing for a second. But I like this detour. Two films that I had heard about when they came out, but I didn't get a chance to see because I don't go out to the movies that much anymore. X and Pearl by Ty West. Those became two of my honest to God top films of 2022. And it's not even a matter of one's a sequel to the other, so they're going to be the same. No, I'm going to figure out how to rank them because I think they each deserve their own spot. So
Well,
yeah,
actually, X is a 2021 film. If you want to be specific about, you could actually put those together as one package, but
I
X was
I'm
last year.
I'm pretty sure X was earlier this year because we got it for the package because it was one of those things where
Yeah,
it
well,
came out because X and then Pearl came out like 6 months later because the whole thing
I'd have
was
to look it up.
yeah because Ty
I'm
West.
almost positive I did the review of X last year.
Hmm. Well, it's also the pandemic hangover timeline, which is all out of
Oh
sorts.
God, yes. God, yes. It's all I'm looking it up right now. Okay.
This is
Anyway.
this is top-notch podcasting, Pat. But
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I'm I'm so distracted. But my three, I think it was Tar, Bardo, and somebody had recommended 13 Lives, which was great, fine, you know, but it was a procedural film. It's not going to be any kind of cinematic statement.
hmm,
So I feel like I wasted my time on that. But I did get to see Tar, which I loved. I just thought that was an amazing film.
Tar
And
is Tar. I'm planning to watch Tar probably tomorrow night. I know it's another long one, and I didn't get it in for the first round, but I'm 90% sure that Kate Blanchett and that movie are going to be on, probably the short list. So, I just wanted that
yeah,
is one that I wanted to make sure to see.
yes. Now, did you see Bardo?
No.
Okay. See, it's been getting mixed reviews, but man, some of the people who've been seeing it, it's like this is life altering. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait till after the ballot, and maybe in preparation for my. But did you see Close?
No, and I don't want to go on about all the movies I didn't see this year because
I'm
the
sorry.
list is ginormous.
I was just
No.
yes. No. I just meant that these are the ones that were lying around for the ones I absolutely wanted to see before, and I came up too short, which was Bardo and Close. So
Yeah.
la
Well,
di da la di da. This is totally different from our Friday podcast.
and that's honestly, I'm glad because my big fear, and again, thank you for coming back. I just didn't want to do a
Yes,
repeat. We talked about some of the same themes, but I didn't want to be like,
right.
and here's where we made this joke about this thing. And I feel like
Well,
this is a pretty
no, but
fresh take. Yeah.
your observations on Friday really made me laugh hard because it was really in line with what this special is about. It is about a 2022 sensibility, looking back on a 1960s innocence or whatever you want to call it, with the pall of a tragic. It would be like doing the thing, doing a Christmas show the day after 9/11. It just it's just there's going to be a certain atmosphere there that you can detect, and the fact that you detected it, I think, was pretty much the highlight for our discussion regarding the Judy Garland Christmas special.
Well, and folks can again get tickets to that and
Yeah.
go see Pat as Jack Jones. That's coming up this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, if I have those dates correct.
Yes,
So
that is correct.
yeah, I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for
It's
you,
going to
Pat. I
be
think it's
a
gonna be fun.
really fun show. I am so proud to be in this show because I know it's a killer. So that's all I can say.
All right. Well, and all I can say is that Judy Garland was an immense talent, as is Liza Minnelli, and Lorna,
Yes.
the 11-year-old girl that we mentioned. I had said this before, but I didn't say it this time, so I'll say it now. She had some pipes. Like when she was singing,
He
I
had
mean, it was
pipes.
really, kind of stirring, these kind of Christmas songs.
I mentioned that on the Friday, because her mother was the girl with the big voice. That was her big nickname, the little girl with the big voice. So when Liza and Lorna became of age, she taught them how to sing, sing like this. And Liza was a more organic talent. She didn't do an imitation of her mother. She had a more natural singing voice, whereas Lorna's doing an imitation of the little girl with the big voice. But she's really good. She's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah. I mean,
I
for
mean,
an
she's doing like a
imitation,
Sophie Tucker version of the Santa Claus Has Come to Town. You'll never forget this version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And neither will Jack Jones.
Let's just leave that one. Anyway, Pat, the Uber critic McDonald, it is always a pleasure. It's always fun doing our traditional
always a
Christmas
pleasure.
show. Oh, but
Yes.
last thing you had mentioned, and I forgot,
Yes.
is it Meet Me in St. Louis? Is that the Judy Garland Christmas
That is
movie?
that's the one you want to watch on Christmas Eve. It's episodic, and one of the episodes is Christmas, but it is in fact, I think it's done with 4 seasons, but it's just so warm. You know, it's a beautiful little family movie. I don't know if your kids will like it.
Well, I'm not going to watch it on Christmas Eve, but we're going to talk about it next year. That is officially going to be our 2023
very
Christmas
good.
movie. So folks can
Excellent.
come back and check that out.
Well, I hope we make it to there.
Oh, we're gonna.
I never like to.
Pat, as you said, the show must go on, so there's no way we can't not do
The show
it.
must
So.
go on. Thank you, Ian Simmons. I'm kicking the seat.
Well, thank you, Pat McDonald of HollywoodChicago.com and various other ventures, and also the A Judy Christmas. So yeah, good luck, and we'll catch you real soon.
Thank you.
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.
All right, bye.